Welcome back to the Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. It's time for another conversation with a local group that helps to defend democracy. I'm talking about the Detroit Documenters. They play a vital role in improving our access to information. They attend a range of public meetings and they document what leaders and community members are saying. That brings us to a recent Detroit City Council meeting when a number of people spoke during the public comment period about Detroit's Solar Neighborhood Initiative. They're alleging that the city is using blight tickets to take property for solar development. This has brought into question the city's process for constructing solar neighborhood arrays. For more, producer Jack Filbrandt sat down with Detroit documenter Hannah O'Neill and coordinator Noah Kincade.
The idea is to, as Duggan said, to convert 124 municipal buildings in the city to solar energy. The way they're doing that is not exactly how that sounds when you say we're just going to convert these buildings to solar energy. Then the buildings are going to continue to get powered from the grid, from DTE. But what they're going to do is they're going to build a variety of solar fields around the city in residential neighborhoods. There's going to be 5 of them. And in total, it's about 165 acres of solar field they're building. And the power generated from those fields is going to offset what the city is using at those municipal buildings. It's a deal they're working out with 2 contractors, both DTE Energy here locally and then a company called Lightstar Renewables out of Boston, Massachusetts. Both of those companies, they're going to kind of divvy up the fields in terms of the construction and the operation of those fields. If you want to dig into this, you can look up what a VPPA is. It's a virtual power purchase agreement. That's how it works. But without getting into the quagmire of how all that works, it's a way for the city to build some solar fields, take advantage of some credits from the federal government, have these other contractors who do this for a living kind of operate these. This is a very long-term lease. It's a 35-year agreement with both of these companies. A way to go green, if you will.
These solar arrays are being built in neighborhoods in Detroit. Are community members living in these neighborhoods getting any benefits when it comes to these solar arrays being built?
Yeah, so it's a very clever name. They're calling it the Solar Neighborhoods Initiative, and it's not to be confused with neighborhood solar, right? Neighborhood solar is a term that is commonly used when a neighborhood builds a solar field that is providing the power directly to the neighbors living around it. That's not what this is. The benefits that are going to happen for the neighbors here that the city is touting are that, well, first of all, they're really advertising the fact that this is a way to remove a lot of blight. So these are a lot of these blocks that they've chosen are blocks where there was maybe only 1 or 2 houses left standing. There's a lot of illegal dumping going on. So once these solar fields are built, they're going to be fenced in. So you're not going to be able to get in there to illegally dump. They're claiming they're going to save all this money from not mowing the grass. So I guess the grass just grows and the fields sit on top of it. I don't quite understand. But the other benefits that are happening are for the immediate neighbors. If you are not, someone who owns a house within where the field is going to actually be, but you're across the street or you're really nearby within these mapped out neighborhoods surrounding each one of these fields, there are going to be some benefits to you if you're the homeowner and you live there. And those benefits are energy upgrades that are going to be paid for by the energy contractors, either DTE or Lightstar. And that can include things such as a new roof, better insulation, new windows, energy efficient appliances if you don't already have them in your home. And what they're offering to those households, the qualifying households, is somewhere between $15,000 and $25,000 in upgrades for each of those houses.
Noah, the city of Detroit has said they would not be taking people's homes in this process, but why are people saying it's still taking place?
Yeah, they didn't really say they're not going to take people's homes. what they said was if you own a home where that field is going to be located and you are living in that home, so you're not a speculator, you're not a landlord, you are an owner occupier of that house, they are going to offer you twice the fair market value for it, or a minimum offer of $90,000. And if you want to say no, you can. And you can stay there in your home, and they'll basically build the field around you. That offer does not apply to people who own homes and they're not living in them themselves, right? So if you are a landlord and you own 6 houses, let's say, within the footprint of where the actual solar panels are going to be, the city is going to take your house. They're going to pay you just fair market value, whatever they establish that to be. And the same goes for vacant properties paid for and taken by the city in exchange for fair market value.
We have a clip of Mayor Mike Duggan talking about the Solar Neighborhood Initiative at the 2024 State of the City.
This is a chance for Detroiters to decide for themselves. No one is going to be forced to sell a home that they live in. We're not doing that, all right? Owner-occupied houses, we offered a minimum of $90,000, and only if the homeowner wants to take it. And when you're in the only house on the block, a bunch of people want to take it. Okay? Landlords, vacant landowners get fair market value. Renters love this deal, 18 months free rent, and we move them.
Hannah, you attended the April 29th City Council meeting. While there wasn't a quorum, many people at the meeting spoke out during public comments. What did they have to say?
Well, generally there was a great deal of discontent. There were around a dozen or so comments made at that City Council meeting, and around a third of those were centered on the Solar Neighborhoods Initiative. There was a lot of conversation around due process and a lack thereof, as well as conversations around eminent domain, the ethics involved, how that litigation process is happening, and what the timeline looks like, why people are being removed. There was a lot of conversation around the potential loss of generational wealth, with families losing the ability to pass down their homes to their children, and just several instances of things like blight violation tickets being used as a way to force residents to vacate. Generally, there was a lot of discussion around how this program is being initiated, how it is being brought into these neighborhoods.
We have a clip from Daniel Mertez giving public comment at the City Council meeting.
I have been trying to pay the money I owe for the property taxes since last summer when the EPA and solar project claimed it abandoned because I didn't answer the door to people I don't know. Again, financial crisis is no reason to illegally vacate people out of their homes. I know my Fifth Amendment rights and I couldn't afford a lawyer. I received an offer for $90,000 in early 2024 and turned it down because that was my home.
We're talking with Detroit documenter Hannah O'Neill and coordinator Noah Kincade about the Solar Neighborhood Initiative. The city's legal department will be giving an update at the next City Council meeting. Hannah, these residents are not opposed to renewable energy, but what are they taking issue with when it comes to the Solar Neighborhood Initiative?
There was a lot of discussion around the merits behind the program and the merits behind green programs, green energy. But generally, the way that these parcels of land are being managed and the transfer of ownership is being moved, that is where most of the discontent is coming from. A lot of the public comments were discussing the ways in which people felt that they were being wronged. There was a lot of conversation around litigation, dozens of lawsuits related to the program being under active litigation right now. And that was the crux of the issue is how are people able to maintain safe housing, make sure that their families have housing for generations to come? How are they able to stay in the neighborhood where they may have lived for generations? I think the main issue that residents are having is the difference between what the city claims they're aiming to accomplish and how they're going about accomplishing that.
We have a clip from Darren McCluskey speaking at public comment. He created the website DetroitSolarScam.com.
I think you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone that's against renewable energy or solar, at least anyone with the right mind, but there is a right way and a wrong way to do it. I just think there are constitutional rights that are protected in this country that should not be stepped on, and I truly believe that we're going to look back and this is going to give renewable energy a bad name.
Noah, what questions is the city council still seeking answers to?
I think what they really want to know is they want to hear from the law department, inundated with all these people showing up and making these allegations that they're being unlawfully evicted from their homes, that this is a house that they owned and that they were living in, and yet they're still getting kicked out, which is not what the mayor said would happen. So I think the questions for the law department are, what they're very general, right? What is happening? Are we following the plan that was laid out in terms of what was promised to these residents? Are the offers that the city is making in terms of the value of the property, are they fair? How is the city going about determining which houses are owner occupied? They obviously have to verify that, but what is their process, right? Is it are they looking at the tax records and who has a homestead exemption or a principal residence exemption, which only an owner who's living in that property can get, right? Are they going by that? What is their process, and are people slipping through the cracks somehow, right? Detroit has a problem with tangled titles. We know this. There's estimates are around 5,500 properties in Detroit that where the property was left to a relative when the owner passed away, but maybe they didn't have a will, and so the ancestor who's now living in that home, who considers it theirs, maybe they're not on the title, right? And that means they can't claim the homestead exemption. They can't. There's all these things that they can't do. And so are those people getting kind of caught up in this dragnet as they're collecting these properties, and they're not really getting their like a fair hearing or their fair shake? A lot of these people are saying, look, I cannot afford a lawyer. And meanwhile, the city's got a whole law department, right, who's representing it. So these are all the questions that the law department really has to answer. There was definitely budget set aside at the beginning of this. They knew there were going to be legal costs for all of this, right? But I think the city council would probably be interested to know, like, are we going to end up spending considerably more than what we planned? Like, how many of these cases are being litigated? How much is this going to actually end up costing us in the end?
That was Detroit documenter Noah Kincade and Hannah O'Neill. They were speaking with producer Jack Filbrandt about issues with Detroit's Solar Neighborhood Initiative. The city's legal department will provide an update at tomorrow's city council meeting. From the WDET newsroom, a statewide organization wants to increase educational attainment. The Michigan Global Talent Initiative's goal is to have 60% of the state's workforce obtain a post-secondary education or professional certificate by 2030. Global Detroit Executive Director Steve Tabachman says Michigan has added 55,000 college-educated immigrants to the job market since 2019. University of Michigan President Santa Ono sent an email last night saying he's leaving Ann Arbor this summer to become the president of the University of Florida. U of M hired him 3 years ago. Roman Catholic cardinals are meeting at the Vatican this week to begin electing a new pope. The group will choose a new leader to succeed Pope Francis, who died last month. Today marks the start of the first full week of U.S. tariffs on imported auto parts. Some analysts fear the levies could raise prices for consumers by thousands of dollars. State revenue grew faster than the rate of inflation last year, but not enough to trigger an automatic income tax rollback under Michigan law. That means the income tax will remain at 4.25%. Coming up, we'll discuss the historic and cultural significance of this day, which is Cinco de Mayo. Stay with us. This is The Metro. We'll be right back.